Hey viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to So You're Being Hunted. You know what time it is? It's time to go to the South Island and get that cleared. I hear riders already. That's not good. That means they could come from any direction and rip my face off. This is actually episode 340 now. Where? Fuck, 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 fuck. Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. No. Piss off. Where's my gun? I have a gun somewhere. Are you catching up with me, you little shit? Oh. Fucking hell, he took about 1,000,000 shots, he did. Well, that's not... a bit of an exaggeration, but, yeah. In terms of exaggerations, that's right up there with the episode where I first encountered the poacher, episode 29 or whatever it was. And, you know, I got shot, and what was it that I famously said? He did like 1,000,000 damage! Yeah, sure he did, Red. Okay, that wasn't really... how I anticipated this video actually starting, I'll be honest, but alright, it's a good way to start it, I guess. A little bit of a trip down memory lane for you all there. Back to the old days from 2013, 14, whenever it was, when So You're Being Hunted was still an early access game, still being updated, still being developed, when Big Robot was sort of still around doing their thing. Okay, I think the jetty to the South Island is off over here, which is good because that's where we need to be. Okay, just sorry if you just heard me adjusting my microphone right then, but yeah. All right, oh there it is. Yeah, okay. Right, so yeah, we need to clear South Island, and if we can do that, then brute force challenge attempt number 2 will have gone absolutely fantastically. It'll have gone relatively swimmingly, in fact, I do think. All boys and girls. Okay, right, as usual, well, I say as usual, we're going to go over, I'll probably stay silent during the loading screen, just in case Bandicam cuts out again. See you on the South Island, everybody. Wait, no, that's not the South Island, that's the West Island, what am I doing? That is not where we need to go. Okay, scratch that, ladies and gents. we're not going to another island just yet. I'm on the wrong jetty entirely. Flipping heck, I had a bit of a moment there, didn't I? Good lord. Well, let's just follow the coastline around until we eventually find where we need to be. Hopefully the sea beast doesn't pop up now and try to turn this into some kind of So You're Being Hunted hentai. But, yes. It's a terrible joke, it's not even that funny. It's awful, let's never make that joke again. In fact, I've probably made that joke before, haven't I? And, you know, speaking of things that are terrible and absolutely cringe, I want to talk about a little subject. A subject that's actually come up just this evening as of when I record this. Now, last episode I mentioned a channel that I'd recently discovered in the last month or two, Caddicarus. And, I was talking about that video he did, The Painful World of Lego Games, is technically its title. That was the video I was referring to last episode. And since then, of course, I've been watching a bit more of his content. And an interesting one which I've just watched this evening, just before I started recording this video, was... well, I can't remember the exact... I've already forgotten the exact title of it, but it was to do with the era of PS1 magazine. So this is kind of more of a UK thing, but I don't know, some aspects of this may be kind of relevant to things that happened in other countries as well. And in it, basically, Caddicarus was talking about PS1 magazine back in the day of the sort of like the late 90s through the 2000s. When that magazine was in circulation, before obviously it became, you know, like PS2 magazine and stuff like that. Now, the reason I watched that was because back when I was a kid, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this in previous at some point, I used to I didn't own PS1 magazine because I didn't have a PlayStation, but I did have a couple of PC Gamer mags, and they were from that same kind of era, sort of late 90s, early 2000s. And, in fact, actually, probably not late 90s, that might have been a bit too early, actually. No, 2000s, essentially, now that I remember correctly. But part of the reason I clicked on that Caddicarus video was because I thought, oh, this might almost be a bit sort of nostalgic, even though it's not the same console, or the same platform, rather. And, yeah, at first it was a bit of a trip down sort of nostalgia lane and all that, because, of course, you know, those of you who are older among my audience and who can remember that sort of thing and who read those kind of things themselves, you know, You might remember from the earliest days of that magazine when it would do the big full-page spreads, things like that on new games that had been released, and of course the same sort of thing was with magazines like PC Gamer as well. Okay, now we're at the South Jetty, so I'm just going to pause whilst the loading screen takes place. We're back in. Apologies if you just heard me swallowing. Tea, ladies and gentlemen, is what I'm drinking. But, so where was I? Yeah, I was talking about how these magazines, there was a bit of a trip down nostalgia lane, because I can remember, from the PC Gamer ones that I read, they had kind of amazing, things like double-page spreads, reviews on big games that were being released. Yeah, now that I think about it, the magazines I had were probably from about 2003, 4-ish, because I remember one of them having a review of Command & Conquer Generals in it, and of course Command & Conquer Generals came out in 2003, so that actually does narrow the time frame down quite significantly. But yeah, so they had stuff like that, and when I was watching Caddicarus' video, he was showing kind of pages in these old PS1 magazines with things like, they do like big spreads with like cheat codes for games, stuff like this. They even had pages with like things like developer telephone lines if you wanted to ring them up about game releases and whatever else have you. It was pretty crazy. But then, if you haven't seen this Caddicarus video, ladies and gentlemen, about PS1 magazines, just search for it on YouTube. Caddicarus PS1 magazines. They'll probably come up first at the top of the results, of the YouTube results, that is. And let's just say, the sort of first half of the video is quite innocent and delightful. It's lovely. Then you get to the sort of second half of the video where Caddicarus starts to delve into the later stages, shall we say, of PS1 magazine's life. And this was actually really fucking cringy. It was cringy in a sort of funny, but at the same time, oh god, why did they do this kind of way? Because I am not joking. Basically, there was a phase in the life of PS1 magazine when it basically became softcore pornography, let's say, and it was insane. They had like pages with things like phone sex line numbers and things like that. It's like, what the hell? It's a magazine about PS1 games. Why did they have all this stuff in it? But that's apparently the direction that PS1 magazine apparently took at one point in its life. And just reading some of the shit that they used to put in that magazine, it feels so sleazy. You come away feeling dirty, having learnt about it. And that's the thing. It's just, who thought this was a good thing? But of course you have to see it in the context of its time, I guess. Which is a time when apparently that was the thing that publishers thought people wanted to see. And when I say people, I actually mean, lads. Because that's the thing, Here in the UK, there was, and, probably in some quarters still exists, this thing that you call kind of lad culture. And I believe this sort of equivalent that you'd find of that in countries like America would be things like dude bro culture, I think it would be called, which is basically where it's like masculinity but taken to kind of, if not toxic extremes, kind of borderline toxic extremes, sort of, And it's like, it's just, Caddicarus was sort of showing off, not showing off, but he was showing and commenting about some of just how blatantly sleazy, and in some cases just downright kind of sexist, basically, these magazines could actually get, how objectifying they were. And I'm not kidding. He had one of these magazines where there was like in one of the back pages there was this fucking rate my girlfriend section where readers were being encouraged to convince their girlfriends to basically send in what were essentially, if not pornographic, but certainly very kind of provocative images of themselves, and the editors would literally rate it as if they were rating a video game. They would rate their girlfriend, and it just, like I say, it was just so cringy. And don't get me wrong, Caddicarus in his video, he's not celebrating it at all. He's taking a sort of, kind of, how would you describe it, a sort of satirical kind of mocking look at it. And here's the thing, you know, I know some people will probably sort of sit there and think, come on, Red, you're one to talk, aren't you? You play games like Senran Kagura here on the channel and things like that. Yes, but I don't go around doing... I mean, I don't know, some people might see it sleazy, I guess some people would, but I'm going to be honest, no. If you compare some of the shit that happens in my Senran Kagura videos, compare that, go and watch the Caddicarus video and compare it to that, there is no fucking kind of... They're not on the same level, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And yes, I know this comes across as me trying to sort of defend myself a bit, it does. But, yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that even if I do play games like Senran Kagura and shit like that on my channel, I like to think the reason I do it is because I kind of like to mock them a bit, even though I probably don't really actually do that in the videos at all. But yeah, it probably doesn't come across that way, does it? But yes, here's the thing, you know, and I certainly don't engage in sleazy behaviour. I don't condone it either, just saying. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's one of those things where, as you watch that video by Caddicarus, it's like, you just feel so uncomfortable as he gets into the second half of it, and you just see the way, like for example, he had the letters page, where readers would send in letters to the editor, and some of the things these people at the time were writing, just, you think, oh, bad touch. Just, it feels so, almost kind of borderline incel, if I'm being brutally honest. Ugh. Yeah, and it just makes you feel uncomfortable. And it made me feel uncomfortable, but I couldn't stop watching it, because it was such a kind of, I don't know, eye-opening thing. It made me sort of look back on a time when I was, essentially I was still a kid. You know, I was in my teenage years by the sort of 2000s, I was getting into them. And it just made me sort of look back on that era and think, oh god, there really was such a almost kind of pretty much kind of lecherous side to that time. I mean, I know, like I say, it was very much of its time, and you have to sort of judge these things in the context in which they occurred. But that doesn't stop it from just being cringy, let's be honest. So cringy. I need to really find where this final device piece on this island is actually located. We'll get there eventually. Ooh, Jesus, watch out for those guys. So yeah, Caddicarus, PS1 magazines, his video on those, go watch it. It's hilarious and exceptionally cringy at the same time. Not because of anything Caddicarus does, but because of the subject matter that he's looking at. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, you know, and Caddicarus says this in his vid, and I'll say it here as well. You know, we're not trying to... The point isn't to shame people for their kind of sexual interests or whatever. That's not the point. People can like whatever they like as long as they're not hurting or harassing people. You know, or their actions are not leading to any sort of harm. But there are just some things where you look at them and you think, thank God we are kind of moving away from that. And I know there's still aspects of, you know, certain lads cultures and things like that which do still exist. And I kind of think, you know, in time that sort of thing will die out, because I think as kind of people become aware of it, it's become more aware of kind of how sleazy it actually can be. People are going to start probably putting it down, I would hope, at least. Okay, boom, and you please. Whoop. Gotcha, there we are. Whew. Okay, final device piece. We're about to get it. Just as soon as I check for any shotgun shells that I can acquire. Right, let's move on. Let's get back to the jetty, get back to the Central Islands, and then we can complete this challenge. And it will be fantastic, as long as I don't suddenly get myself killed. Which, to be honest, can always happen yet. Just like that. Let me drink some more tea. Where are we? Guess we'll follow the edge of the island back to where we actually need to be. So yeah, like I say, I know some people may think I'm being a bit hypocritical, considering I play games like Senran Kagura on my channel, and I've also played visual novels. But like I say, whenever I play those things, I play them with a sort of, you know, a kind of, a certain, I don't know, how do I describe it, a kind of wariness, knowing that, you know, these are kind of meant to be just over-the-top silly games. They're not meant to kind of engender an actual image of what women should be, or what femininity should be, or things like that. And I play them because, from a humorous point of view, it's hilarious. But, you know, here's the thing. People can like what they like, but as long as they make sure they have that distinction between that and reality, then, you know, the problem occurs, I think, when people sort of start blurring the boundaries between the two, and they sort of start taking these absurd things that they see in video games and other media, not just video games for that matter, and they start sort of basing their interpretation of how reality should be or is based on that, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it really well at all, to be honest, but yeah. So, yes. Okay, let me just pause my commentary again whilst we go back to the central island, just in case Bandicam cuts audio again. So, back to the central island, everybody. Sorry if you just heard me burping just before we transferred back to this island just then. It's because I was just talking. Sometimes the problem with doing commentary whilst you're drinking something at the same time is that it causes like gas to go up your throat, and then you end up sort of getting a bit gassy as you're trying to do commentary. And it's like, oh, okay, just gonna pause talking for a moment whilst I there, like that, you know. That's me pretending or sort of impersonating what it's like, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're nearly back to where we need to be. Where's that rider? He's over there. Let me switch out to me old rifle, me old double-triggered rifle. Okay, where's he at? He's over there. He's still quite a distance away. I don't think he's going to see me. I think we'll be okay. As long as there aren't any poachers or anything. I think we'll be okay. Well, I hear one, but I don't know if he's actually close. Get your eyes on the ground, though, Red, in case there's any traps down there. Because you know what it's like sometimes. Right, we're here. We're actually going to finish another challenge, ladies and gentlemen. Brute force, attempt number 2. Done.
Sir, you've done it. I'm bringing the device up to speed now. I hope you won't consider this impertinent.
That rider.
I'm afraid. Hang on. We'll have you out of there in 3, 2,
What's that rider doing?
1.
There we go. I can still hear that rider. I think he thinks my player character is still there. Well, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. God, yeah, that. You know what would have been really sucky then? Is if my player character had actually sort of been killed during that cutscene, and the rider had actually killed me, and thus failed the challenge right at the end. That would have been sucky, but luckily it doesn't happen. I guess the big robot managed to code it so that can't happen, because otherwise that would suck so immensely. Well, there you go, brute force attempt number 2, successful, ladies and gentlemen. We didn't get ourselves killed this time. Feels good when you finish a challenge like that. Okay, so, in the next episode of Sir, I don't know, we might go to another challenge, or I might just do a couple more podcast-style episodes and then move on to another challenge. We'll see. So, yeah, you know, shout out again to any Caddicarus viewers in my audience. And if you haven't seen that video that I was talking about, definitely go look for it. It's a good one, it's funny, and cringy at the same time. So, yeah, Facebook and Twitter links down below, along with the links to my propagandist channel for anyone interested. Other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next part. Goodbye, everybody. Oh, maybe we just go out here then. Okay, let's do it. Just got to keep our eyes peeled for any sparkly bits. I think that door. Okay, no. It's a very little ticket printing machines there, with card readers. Let's go upstairs. Uh-oh. This stone. What's happening? Oh my god! That's a lot of dancing Monokumas, okay. Yeah, party!
There's way too many of them. Let's go back.
Okay, now we're going back. We have to go through the other exit, don't we? I mean, they could have, just join the party.